Namaste, Galactic family. Welcome back to the channel IndigoAngel. Come on into this dimension and come on in, guys, because we have an exciting roundtable tonight.
Hey, Namaste Galactic family. Welcome
Uh-oh.
back to the channel Indigo Angel. Come on.
Okay. And we're back. So, yeah, thank you everyone for being here. Come on into this dimension. Come on into this special request discussion, actually, and debate. A divine masculine call that has been put out. Um, as many have been saying, they've been coming on my channel, they've been putting it down in the comments saying that, we got to bring some divine masculine perspective into the room and open this conversation up. So we're really excited and we organized a mostly divine masculine panel. I do have my most amazing Noko here and Missy, but I'm just super excited because we reached out to, all of the most highly intelligent guys that I know. And I'm so excited that Tyler heard the call, Ryushin heard the call, Rob's going to be here as well. And then we may also have a couple divine masculines coming in. Um, some viewers that have been also saying that they wanted to attend, so we did actually send them out a Zoom link via email. If they got that, you know who you are. Go ahead and just come on and pop into the live. But yeah, we're excited, you guys, because we're going to be getting into it tonight. We're going to be getting into everything regarding the new and upcoming Trump and Elon Musk regime change. And this has been highly anticipated. This has been deeply controversial. It has been spicy, it's been chaotic, and it's definitely been a shift. And as we all have felt and we all have known, we've been somewhat in a pressure cooker up until this point. So much is coming to the surface from 1D Earth, 2D Earth, 3D Earth, 4D Earth, the lower Earth dimensions and realms. This is what we're going to be discussing tonight. This is what this reality is all uh, intertangled into, essentially. And kind of what's happening on these planes, these Earth planes, is that we are essentially draining the swamp, so to speak. And we are exposing the Draco hive corruption in the Willy Wonka system. A lot of this is really coming to the light as a lot of these shape-shifting Draco, pedophilic, sex trafficking politicians are starting to be exposed. It's all coming to the surface. So yeah, we can see these shifts essentially happening. We can see how the new earth and source and the divine plan is all playing a role and utilizing its players and its archetypes to bring forth the new divine template, essentially. But it's just it's kind of an exciting time to be watching what's going on, wherever you're getting your information from, essentially. It's kind of everywhere at this point. We are currently in the inauguration eve. So Trump is getting sworn into the White House, and I'm sure that they got all of the police barricades all around the White House at this time. You guys know that the security has been amped up. Everyone's been very vigilant about this. I think all the way from, what's playing out on the hierarchical levels and the politicians and the deep state, all the way down to just regular people. Like we're all like very vigilant because there's been a lot of talks of possible terror attacks. We have the Islamists and the pro-jihadists, and everybody's talking about these possible sleeper cell swarm attacks and things like this. So there's a lot of security that's being ramped up, and a lot of people are really just paying attention to what is going on right now. So, yeah, we're going to talk about all of that. We're going to be talking about just all of the intel that our Divine Masculine panelists have. We're going to be talking about what's going on with TikTok. We're going to be talking about maybe these ceasefire deals that's going on with Israel and Hamas. We're going to cover every aspect of it that we can possibly think of tonight. And I just want to thank you guys so much for joining me. And I'm going to hand it off to everyone to just introduce themselves, say where you're from, and give us a little perspective on what your position is and, what you kind of think about the Trump and Elon new era. And whoever would like to go first, yeah, just go ahead and chime on in.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ryushin Malone. I'm a scientist researcher of extraterrestrials, and I've been going at it for the past 7.5 years. I got involved through personal contact with extraterrestrials while sitting meditation. And as about a week after that contact, the alien mummies were released on Gaia TV. And a week after that, I made the connection between King Akhenaten and Queen Nefertiti. They were the same species sitting with them as the Nazca alien mummies. So it gets really deep, but um, I've also done a lot of work on Orion and the Orion group and the Draco reptilians. I've been hunting Orion, the hunter. And the Orion group is known as the Satanic Force who takes over star systems. And they were very close to that all happening. And luckily for us, Trump came in and the military saved us from extinction twice, two times.
Wow.
So, yep, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia right now, and it's cold. I was gonna say it's warm, but no, it's cold. But it's okay. But other than that, that's who I am. Hello.
That's so awesome. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We're excited to pick your brain.
My name's Tyler Koala. I'm host of Journey to Truth podcast. I'm an experiencer myself, a researcher, filmmaker, host conferences, and now author. My first book is actually in the editing process right now. I'm really excited about that. Been at this since about 2017, 2018, really, whenever I was kind of blown wide open. And it's been quite the journey, as all of you may know. I kind of woke up right during the Trump's first inauguration, or first term, and that whole 17 operation, and that kind of really opened my eyes to a lot of the corruption that was happening around the world. And I know there's controversy surrounding that, but it was the spark that I needed, that my soul needed to get me on this path. And now it's a full-time job, and there's no place I'd rather be. We are literally here. This is the time to be here. We are living through a historic moment in galactic history, not just Earth history, galactic history, because this affects this entire arm of the galaxy, which has been under Orion rule, Draconian rule for quite some time. But I think as our planet is ascending into these higher densities, um, that satanic system can no longer function here. So they're being forced to go back to the Orion system where it is legal. So this is a free will planet, and they got away with that system for far too long, actually. And they overstayed their welcome. And right now, I believe that we are witnessing the deep state negotiating their surrender. And I think there's a major transition of power occurring right before our eyes. And if you know what to look for, it's amazing. If you don't know what to look for, you're going to fight to defend the very system that's enslaving you, because the truth is so outrageous, it'll discredit itself, because people really aren't ready to hear. I don't think um, I guess, we don't really know the actual truth. None of us actually know. But if any of the stuff that we cover, as far as this being an intergalactic, multidimensional temporal war involving technologies that aren't supposed to exist, with ETs that aren't supposed to exist, and intelligence agencies within the private sector that aren't supposed to exist. The truth involves everything that we have been told isn't real. So when people start hearing it, it's going to really be a paradigm shift, and they are going to fight to defend that system that is literally enslaving them. And they will protect their comfort zone as their life that has been stolen from them is trying to like call them back. Like, no, like here we are. So I think it's an amazing time as far as the inauguration and Trump and Elon. I mean, there are a million theories, but I am of the opinion that some sort of deal had been made behind the scenes, whatever that looks like, or whatever it did look like. I think that they are now serving the light. Whether or not everybody has their opinions, and a lot of this stuff is questionable when we really look at it from a 3D perspective. And arguably so. I mean, Elon's doing some questionable things with, AI and Neuralink and, and Trump, he can say some stuff sometimes that offends people, but, you need somebody with a backbone in that position to even do what he's doing. Elon is arguably the most influential person on the planet right now, whether you like him or not. He has the most influence and the most money. And I think we're seeing something really amazing. I think everything that happened over the past 4 years, we were allowed to see, they wanted us to see, so we can understand the level of corruption. And I actually expect it to get worse. I think we are on the verge of some major pushback from the dark players that are literally going to go out kicking and screaming because that's what they're ordered to do. So I'm excited. I'm not worried, but I definitely know that we have to stay vigilant and I would say even pray and just, pray for a peaceful transition because that's what it's going to be.
Wow, thank you. That was great. Yeah, got lots of questions for you. I was going lots of places there while you were talking. Hey, Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot, would you like to turn on your screen and say hello to everybody watching today and let them know where you're coming from tonight? If he can hear me?
Are we in now?
You're in.
All right. Cool. Dad wrote some notes.
Yeah, let me give you real quick what's going down. I'm Jim, and this is my son Matt. And I spent about 30 years in the government, DOE, DOD, Boeing, and I'm basically an aeronautical engineer. And then I threw that away and I became a Microsoft engineer. And then threw that all away and went into truck driving, me and Missy. But anyway, well, I'm not with her, but anyway. And then we started our family business a few years ago, Airbnbs and that kind of such. And then over the last few years, Matt, first of all, my wife, she's British. So she's my actual, if you want to know any details of anything, she's one of those kind of people. And then Matt, being my son, I would call it clairvoyant. He talks to giants and foots and Gaia. And so we get a lot of information through basically all the people around me, of course, including you and many other folks we follow. And on Trump, I just want to say a couple things. Start with I had heard a couple weeks ago that the Clintons, this would be the year they go down. So that's in line with the Journey of the Truth was saying. And tomorrow is definitely going to be a lot of fun. I think today's the National Popcorn Day, so everybody's got their popcorn ready. I got extra butter, so it's going to be a mess, but we all know where we're going. And also last thing I want to say on the Trump thing was that before Trump got shot in the ear, we was talking to Gaia, and Gaia had actually saved him a couple times. Once from a bullet, she made the gun misfire, and then the other time was
by poison, by like someone trying to poison, drinking something, and he didn't drink it. So yeah.
So yeah, she turned some kind of poison into.
It turned into clean
holy water or something like that.
Clean water.
So that's kind of just a little bit about where we're at and what we're about. And we love to research. So while you're talking, I'll be doing some research, of course, on whatever.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We just really appreciate it. I can see that I think we're going to strike up a good roundtable here. But going off the note of the popcorn day, I feel like we could get the pre-party started, so to speak, and maybe just see a couple videos of kind of what's going on Inauguration Eve and we'll all kind of get into the vibration and the frequency. Noko's gonna screen share some of Trump's rally speech here, coming in from live off of X. Thanks, sound, Noko. Bear with us here. And everyone in the chat, thank you so much for being here. We got Michelle Fee. She's excited. She's like, hey, Tyler. Hey, Ryushin. Love you guys. Margot Lynn, yes, especially because Neptune is at 29 degrees Pisces. Illusions, delusions, fog, truth, or illusion. Too foggy to see clearly. Lisa says, Noko, how is your divine masculine hubby? She's tuning in with you.
It's funny you brought that up, sister. I actually asked him, I was like, hey, you want to get on one of these round tables? I bet Indy would love to have you on here. So yeah, he's doing amazing. And I think he is going to love to tune into this conversation right here because we get some amazing ones on the panel. So let me try this again.
We also took back the U.S. Senate. We had some great people running. And the House Republicans won their largest popular vote majority in presidential year since 1928. We had a lot of people voting. So the Senate, the House Republicans, we got all three of them. A little bit close on those two. Senate's in great shape. House Republicans, actually, they both have great leaders. They both have great people. Heading John Thune is fantastic. And if you look at Mike Johnson, he's got a pretty tight majority, but actually it's very tight, but it's very good because we vote unified. We're really voting unified, and so it doesn't make much difference. In the election of 2024, which will be the most consequential election in American history, we not only won a mandate, but we built a new American majority that will lead our country to unparalleled success for generations to come. That's what we want to do. And someday, in 30 years from now, 40 years from now, 50 years from now, some of these young people are going to say, I remember Donald Trump, he did a good job. He set us on his way. He told us, he gave us a path. Our new administration will inherit disasters at home and abroad, an economy plagued by inflation and high interest rates, a catastrophic border crisis. Nobody can believe they let people in. They have an open border policy. Do you think that makes sense? Open borders. Anybody wants to. Jails, prisons, mental institutions, gangs being emptied right through that ugly open border, a government that cannot care for its citizens in a time of emergency. Look at what's happening in Los Angeles. Look at what's happening in North Carolina. They've treated them so badly. In a planet on the brink of World War III. It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. But starting tomorrow, I will act with historic speed and strength and fix every single crisis facing our country. We have to do it. We're not going to have a country yet. Before even taking office, you are already seeing results that nobody expected to see. Everyone is calling it I don't want to say this, it's too braggadocious, but we'll say it anyway. The Trump effect. It's you're the effect. Since the election, the stock market has surged and small business optimism has soared a record 41 points to a 39-year high. Bitcoin has shattered one record high after another. The major investment company known as DeMac, the properties, has announced.
Okay, so we just wanted to give everybody kind of a little bird's eye view. I'm sure a lot of people have probably caught that speech live, but just, everything, the energy, all the rally around him and how excited people are. And we had a couple other videos too. So some of the statements he actually made during that live was that he was going to be declassifying the JFK files. And this video here should be his sentiments on that.
As a first step toward restoring transparency and accountability to government, we will also reverse the overclassification of government documents, and in the coming days, we are going to make public remaining records relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, his brother Robert Kennedy, as well as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and other topics of great public interest. It's all going to be released, Uncle Sam, as a first step toward restoring.
And then we have a little excerpt where he's going over what to expect on his first day in office.
Oh, you're going to have a lot of fun watching television tomorrow. Somebody said yesterday, sir, don't sign so many in one day. Let's do it over a period of weeks. I said, like hell, we're going to do it over weeks. We're going to sign them at the beginning. You know that old story. Let's do it later. Then it never gets done. No, we're doing them tomorrow. And we'll have plenty to sign in the future. Don't worry about it. It's not going to stop. But we're going to stop the destructive and divisive diversity, equity, and inclusion mandates all across the government and private sector and return our country to the merit system. You know, the Supreme Court ruled that the United States is allowed to go by the merit system, which is what made us great.
Which I don't think the merit system's a bad idea, to be honest with you. I kind of am aligned with that one. Noko, did that video freeze up on you?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Ryushin, you had a comment? Did you have a comment, Ryushin? Go ahead. Go ahead. Unmute yourself.
All right. All right. Well, it's interesting because I have a clip of Don talking. Can I play that? While we're on the subject of Don?
Let me see if I can give you, I think I have to make you a
Pretty sure.
co-host. Okay. You
Okay,
should
thank
be able to do it now.
Okay.
Yeah, and can I just say, I love seeing somebody that can communicate up here. That's what I'm enjoying right now.
about that?
It's the little things.
Is that okay?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay.
We did a lot. As you remember, I made Space Force, and they tried to end it as soon as they came into office, and they had a revolt in the military.
A revolt? Oh. Does anybody here know about the revolt? Nobody knows.
Please enlighten us.
I do, because I was paying attention. I was watching it happen in real time, where the military attacked Area 51 and took over. Lizard people were coming out of the ground. Yes. December 7th, 2018. 12 days later, the all-seeing eye, a tetrahedron-shaped craft, pyramid-shaped craft, appeared above the Pentagon, came down. We have 4 perspectives of this craft sitting there rotating. It's the all-seeing eye. It's Moloch. It's the Orion Group ship. They came down, and that showed me, that proved to me that that information was true 12 days earlier, that they attacked Area 51. Moloch came down to find out why they stopped the invasion. We were just about to be harvested, adrenochrome harvested. Agenda 21, yeah, Hillary Clinton, if she got into office, yes, that's what that is about. You had a revolt in the military, and then they created Space Force. Yeah. He saved us twice, but I want to play this a little bit more. Just let me play it.
Created Space Force. That's the first time in 78 years since the Air Force that something like that's been done, creating a new branch.
Yeah, they removed Orion out of the Space Force logo. Gee, I wonder why. Oh, the Ukraine flag has the black suns, which is Orion Group. Exercise Orion 23 was a mock exercise to attack Russia by the UN, by NATO. Orion 23, that was the exercise in 2023. All of those countries were a part of it. They're all satanic.
I think that man will be president of the United States right about the time that spaceships come down filled with dinosaurs and red capes.
Draco.
Wow.
It's a little concerning because tomorrow, I'm just saying, that's what happens when you sit down and you pay attention, you watch, you collect the evidence. That's all on my book at theorionlines.com. While we're on the subject of Trump, not to alarm anyone, but I hope it doesn't happen. But if it does.
Well, I think that's really imperative intel and information you're bringing in. I think one thing that has been on so many of our minds that are, being vigilant about what's playing on the prison Earth, the slavery Earth, the 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D Earth, where all this is happening. We know this isn't going on, on the higher Earth planes and in the future new Earth and things like this, but that it's quarantined basically to certain dimensions that these things can happen. But one thing, we're all paying attention to is what is going to happen, right? There's heightened security. You're saying that there's these Dracos with the red capes coming. We do know there's been word that they've let in certain fighter types into the United States through tunnel systems and that they have actual military bases for these guys and that this could be some form of planned attack or a swarm they set on 10 different cities and and then we have the pastor coming in with the prophecy and predictions of assassination. So what is your guys's input and intel and take on the situation?
I just had to say something because it's that time, and it's concerning. And I'm not a prophet. I don't know for sure, but with the evidence that I've seen, it wouldn't be a big surprise for me if they pulled something as soon as he said release the truth, because we work in the light. These people work in the dark and they're watching. The devil is watching. The devil is real, and they are watching. So, just wanted to let you know. Okay, I'm good.
I have some thoughts that are let's just put this out there, that astrologers said that there would be an attempt on his life in his second term. Now, what's interesting is basically he really should have won the last time because they cheated. So was that like his second term in a way, and now he was graced with a third term? You guys would know better than me if he really was behind the scenes doing what he was doing, and we were just watching a movie the whole time. And like Biden was being played by Jim Carrey at times when he was, falling down or whatever, and like all that stuff. So could they have changed the timeline for the fact that maybe this was supposed to happen? Let me give my thoughts on why the inauguration is indoors. Maybe they made this weather so the inauguration would be indoors to keep him safe. Is that possible? What do you guys?
Is it all right? Is it okay if I jump in here?
Nope.
Yeah, I had the same. That was my first immediate intuitive hit about the weather and the inauguration being moved indoors. Yeah, there's a lot of prophets and psychics that see an assassination attempt. Some people say they can't see him in the future. The other people, one of them specifically said they see him getting shot in a hockey arena. there's this, there's who knows. And I think it's possible that we can be tapping into multiple timelines. There's all these probable futures, but in moments like this, in like major transformative historical moments, I don't think it's been solidified yet. I think there's too many moves in play. There's too many things in play for it to actually be solidified. And it literally comes down to the wire. And things change in the fog of war, just like the assassination attempt, barely missing him, which probably dealt with some form of time dilation. But as far as the timeline, like us averting that negative timeline, I think that absolutely happened. I think it's happened a few different times. And, the whole, Draco's coming in red capes. I think that's one of them that we averted. I think, there's a lot of people that say had Hillary got in. Actually, on the other timeline, this did happen. This is where the information comes from because we have bleed through all the time and time travelers and people that, have intel from these other dimensions and these parallel realities. So if you really listen to those people and just take what they say seriously for a second, it makes a lot of sense that if Hillary had gotten in, we would have been on the dystopian timeline where we had World War III, and we know what happens after that. Right now, as far as Biden losing the second term, Trump losing the second term, I think that was, yes, it was allowed to happen, but I still don't think the actual transition of power, meaning like the Orion rule, I think they still controlled the planet during the Biden presidency, during the Biden term. I think right now we're literally witnessing a real transformation of power, like new ownership of the planet type of power. And whether or not an individual or a group or a company actually owns the planet, that's up for debate because we don't really know the truth. And, the history has been kept from us. So there's an entire story that hasn't been told that we just don't understand. Who did this land really belong to? That's been kept from us. And maybe like Trump purchasing Greenland and merging Canada into US and moving the Mexican border down to the Yucatan Peninsula where it bottlenecks so we can actually, it's a defendable border. Maybe this was all already happened and this just now playing out. And if you listen to certain people, I believe that this is exactly the way it has to go down so the planet can ascend. I think that we did this before and we hit a dead end and we couldn't get past a certain density. Like we couldn't get past 5D. And I think that's where we have like the grays, where they come from, they couldn't reproduce anymore. You have all these different timelines and all these different narratives. They all came back in time to course correct the timeline. And, unfortunately, there's like this temporal war going on. So there's obviously groups that are literally intentionally creating timeline deviations. But that's a whole subject in itself. Either way, they're constantly trying to manipulate the timeline. And I think that that's exactly what happened. They knew that had things gone down the Hillary timeline, it would have meant, even though we might have eventually gotten to a fifth density, we wouldn't have been able to go beyond. So they had to come back and make sure. They came back right before Trump got sworn in because that was literally the reason that they had to so overtly cheat. They didn't care if we saw it or not because it literally meant the collapse of their timeline. Had they lost that second election, they literally would have been the collapse of their timeline. So it was a matter of desperation. They did not care if we saw them cheat or not. It was a matter of life or death. So this time around, I think they knew it was time, but they still tried because they're, delirious psychopaths. But they still tried, but I don't think it happened. So,
Tyler, I have a question for you, though. Do you remember? I'm sure you being in this really deep in this, all this white hat stuff, real raw news, all these people saying that Biden actually never had the football. Maybe you can explain that they said that, and he never really flew around in Air Force One and all this stuff that, in the beginning, I remember like January 6th here when I was in South Carolina, like it was yesterday, because right after that, I'm between two military bases here. And all I would see was flybys, the F-16s, the F-18s, the cargo planes, the F-22s, and UFOs, the triangle craft and all this kind of stuff. And now it's basically quiet here, but for, all during COVID, I was seeing all that, but that's what they were saying. And then, we don't know what's true and what's fake because it was all these people being, done away with at Gitmo. Can you enlighten us on some of these things like this and the Q movement, what's true, what isn't?
I'll try. I think as far as I think that what happened was when they did whatever occurred as far as the cheating of the election, I think they really did rig it. They really, like I just explained, that had to happen for their timeline. I think the White Hats or the Alliance said, okay, let's it's like basically giving your son the hammer to help you build your house just to make him think that he's helping. I think that's what happened. Like they just let Biden and that whole administration think that they were doing what they were doing, but the whole time they were under strict watch and moves were being made behind the scenes. We know there were allegedly a lot of arrests that took place, the whole COVID thing and all these celebrities getting coronavirus was allegedly code for them actually being arrested. That's just a theory, but I think there was, for lack of a better term, white hat operations occurring behind the scenes the entire time. And I think they were letting things play out. And I think like 17 always said that we have to be shown. But you can't just tell somebody about the corruption. It has to get real for them on a personal level so that they join the fight. And I think that's what we saw. So I think that, yes, maybe Trump was officially the president, commander in chief the entire time, but they let the deep state maintain their illusion and let them just think that they were getting away with whatever they were getting away with. And another interesting thing to think about is all of those executive orders that Biden signed. First of all, it was different handwriting than Biden's actual signature. Second of all, I've heard, and I can't prove this, I don't know if any of us can, but if a clone signs an executive order, it doesn't go into effect. It has to be signed by the original person. So whenever you see somebody signing, like Trump or anybody signing documents, it's usually on camera, like in a private room, because he's protected and maybe he actually is in Camp David or whatever when he's signing executive orders. But it's debatable, but maybe all of the executive orders that Biden signed were all fluff. And because they controlled the media, because they still controlled all the propaganda, we were led to believe that all of that was actually into effect because we had no other way of knowing. We wouldn't know any better. But maybe none of that actually went into effect. Nothing that he signed was legitimate. And maybe we just had to believe it was because we had to see how bad it was actually going to get had they taken the ball and ran with it. So I don't know. That's my best guess.
And thank you so much for that. And I wanted to just say hello to Rob. He just came in there a little while ago. Rob, would you like to say hello to everyone and just chime in here a little bit?
Hey everyone. Yeah, this is amazing. It's a really amazing panel. Yeah, I don't know where I stand on everything. I mean, I voted for Trump, and and I even got a check from Elon because I signed up for the PAC network because to help promote the election and stuff. But I wasn't totally for it. You know what I mean? Because I feel like at the end of the day, we should be free and sovereign, and we should make our own decisions. And I feel like at the end of the day, when you're given two decisions by a government about who to vote for, you should have a lot more. You should have a lot more decisions. But I did vote for Trump because I felt like he was the best option and he was the only option. But like when it comes to Elon, but I didn't like I'll just state this for the fact. I like Trump, and I think there's hope. I think he can bring us hope, and hope, maybe some hopium. I don't know, but I mean, I didn't like the fact that him and Bobby Kennedy met with the president of that certain corporation that we can't talk about on this platform, Needlecraft Technology, which I think our people in our community were trying to do away with that. And Trump stated himself. He said, "Me and Kennedy met with blah blah blah, PH Iser, that they met with them, and I was like, why are you meeting with them? Like, we want to, anyway." But when it comes to Elon, I think Elon knows a lot more than he's saying about, aliens, because we know that people are still being abducted. We know the reptilians are literally still raping people, and this stuff's going on. You know what I mean? It's not, and I kind of agree with like stuff that Tyler and Ryushin said, and yeah, but I'm kind of all over the map with it. You know what I mean? I have hope though. Let me just put it that way. I do have hope. I think if Trump makes the right decisions, he can do a lot of good for our country, and we need it really bad because we're in a really bad place. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think we're in the worst time of history that America's ever been at. So I don't know. I was kind of all over the place, but that's kind of yeah.
Well
Yeah,
said.
Everybody. It's good to
we
see
need
everybody. Thank you for having me.
the truth now more than ever.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask Tyler maybe because I feel like you were maybe touching a little bit on the Hunter Biden laptop thing. I guess with Trump coming in, he is going to do a 200-day one executive order with many, many different things that he's going to be um, I guess, proclaiming coming in on the first day. One of them is to close the borders to all the illegal aliens, which I think will help with a lot of the Draco problem on some level. Like that's going to help corral things to some degree, but they say that is at a national emergency for the borders, which I agree on that. They're going to direct designations of cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. They're going to reinstitute Remain in Mexico, Catch and Release, and direct the military to construct a new phase of the border wall. Fully unleash Alaskan energy, terminate Biden policies that have constrained U.S. supply. They're going to return federal workers to in-person work, strengthen control over senior government officials, and implement a new merit-based hiring review. Suspend security clearances for the 51 national security officials who lied about the Hunter Biden's laptop ahead of the 2020 presidential election, and all DEI programs across the federal government, establish a new Department of Government Efficiency hiring freeze, declare a national energy emergency and pause all offshore wind leases, withdrawal from the Paris Climate Accord, and direct all agencies and departments to remove all federal actions that increase costs for families and consumers, which I think will be a very important thing as many people are like drowning with this inflation, not being able to even buy groceries or like pay their rent type of thing. But Tyler, I wanted to ask you, do you think you could maybe, if do you have anything to add to the Hunter Biden situation? What's kind of your take on that, and why is that so pressing? Can you explain some of the backstory with the Hunter Biden laptop and why this is like all coming to the surface, and why it's so important for them to do this on day one?
Well, first of all, I think everything you just read is proof that they've literally been baited into a trap. Everything that they've been allowed to do the past 4 years was them walking straight into a trap. And maybe that's how you get these people, right? You have to, there's people within the Illuminati who've come, like the book 334 Lies. It was written by the former head chair of the Illuminati, who was a 41st degree Freemason. He escaped it and wrote a book and said that the only way you will ever take down this system is from the inside. You have to bump shoulders with these people and become one of them in order to take them down from the inside. So whenever you see Trump and Elon and people taking pictures and going to dinner and having meetings with these dark players, keep your friends close, your enemies closer type of thing. And not only enemies closer, but you have to literally become them. You have to get into the mind of your enemy, The Art of War, which is Trump's, favorite book. And it's all playing out beautifully. As far as the Hunter Biden laptop, I think there's more damning evidence on that laptop than even we understand. We've gotten the leaks, we've seen things. It's all real and it's been proven real, but the media has told us it's been debunked and it's not real. If any of that was verified legitimate and people learned the truth and actually believed it, that's the problem though. We've been lied to for so long that even when we start hearing these truths, we all have a trauma response to it. We don't even know if they're trying to con us again. So it's going to be interesting to see the way that plays out. But as far as the laptop, I mean, if people knew what the president of the president that they voted for, if what his son was actually involved in, then it would make them sick. And if some of these videos actually surfaced, like the Frazzle Drip to Hillary video and any of the videos on the laptop, which we've already seen some of those images, I think it's the nail in the coffin for that whole administration because they're all in on it. We have the evidence, we have the sauce, we have the emails, they have everything. They literally have it all. But the thing is you can't come out. You would almost make if they were just to come out and arrest everybody with the people not understanding the truth, it would literally make Trump look like a dictator. And it would be political suicide, actually, because people wouldn't understand what was going on. So they had to see it, right? And I think
I just want to ask, they're involved in human trafficking, right? That's basically what it boils down to.
yeah, exactly. So as far as what's on the laptop, I mean, you have sex trafficking, minors, pedophilia. That's what's on the laptop, right? I just didn't know if we wanted to go there, but that's what's there, and very extreme cases of it. Drug trafficking, all of it, actually. In the whole border situation, the interesting thing is when you talk to the people south of the border, all of the clients, all of the traffickers, all of their clients are in the United States, and they're all politicians. Not all of them, most of them. I'm sure it gets into celebrities and musicians and anyone in any position of influence, right? But that's what's going on with the border. That's why on day one they opened that border back up because they need that business. That's literally how they stay alive. They don't know how to exist without us. They've been cut off from source. We can go out in the sun, we can connect with source, and we can refuel, and we can get absorb that life. The sun is the bringer of life. They have literally devolved to a place where they have cut themselves off from source, and they need us to survive. We are the food supply, and the only way to do that is illegally via means of trafficking and child abuse and adrenochrome and all this stuff that I shouldn't be saying on here, but I am. So I think the reality of the situation with this laptop and what it actually leads to, it's probably the domino that's going to start the entire chain reaction. And if people understand that, if we can convince people that what's on that laptop is real, then the rest will be easy.
Now, do you guys think do you think this is any sort of power play or strategy that between Trump and Elon, that these are discussions that are being had? I mean, I know we've all seen this with Elon being so vocal on X and kind of going after the European government, Keir Starmer, for all of the rape, grooming gangs and all of the sex trafficking and pedophilia that's going on over there. And it does seem like they're kind of crumbling. And also when Ryushin put that list up of countries, it seemed like they were all maybe like the NATO or like the European affiliations, like two same systemic government policies, essentially. Like they're running the same thing the same way. So, do you think that there's some sort of strategy that they have? Does anyone have any input maybe with what's Trump's and Elon's game plan? I mean, are they going to take down every single corrupt government in every single country and kind of push a stronghold of dominance? And maybe is this why they're taking Greenland and Canada? Just want to throw that out there. Like that's kind of what I'm feeling into it, how I'm seeing it.
Just real quick. I it's well, they have time travel. They have time viewing devices, so they already know the plan's already planned out. Quantum
Bingo.
temporal time viewing device, like with a looking glass device and the Orion cube and crystal balls. Let me look into your future. Yeah, all that stuff. They have all that stuff. Both sides, the demonic side and the good side. Yeah.
Can you explain Operation Warp Speed? That's the one thing that really it bothered me, where I got like this, back.
I don't think we can talk about that here. That's
I definitely wouldn't, because that's what got our channel banned.
That's what got me banned too. It's anytime you say anything about that thing that goes here, you're done. Like you just like you might as well call it a day for your video.
Okay.
I will say we did a 2-part webinar on the 17 operation on our on our Rumble and YouTube channel, our new YouTube channel. But we covered that in part 2 in depth on what we think actually went on with that operation. And I think that it allows some breathing room and provides a new perspective that doesn't make Trump look like such a bad guy. I think it was called Operation Warp Speed very strategically, and we'll just leave it at that because Rob is right. We don't want to talk about that here.
Is there a PG-13 version of that?
Well, I mean, there is, I guess. I just don't want to.
Say it in code.
He
That's
doesn't
what
want
we
to get you suspended.
Okay, yeah, we don't want to get in trouble. But okay, well, can you
say
let
things
us
in
know?
code.
Let us know the link then. Where can we go find that information with your channel on Rumble? It's just, Journey to Truth on Rumble.
Yeah, Journey to Truth on Rumble, and it's we did a 2-part webinar series, the Q operation, and it's part 2. I recommend the entire thing. It's 4 hours in totality, and we break it down in layman's terms for anyone who doesn't know what it is, and we go from surface level all the way off the deep end, and we cover every possible perspective and theory that we could find and come up with. And we were alive and paying attention during that time, awake and paying attention during that time. So there was a lot of information that we documented, much like Rion did, like as it happened, that had we not done that, we wouldn't have been able to find it again because we weren't. A lot of that stuff was erased. So that you can find it on our YouTube or Rumble channel, Journey to Truth podcast.
Did you see that video where Trump went around and gave papers to all the world leaders? There was some video about that, the capitulation or whatever. Yeah.
That was at George Bush Sr.'s funeral.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. We cover that as well. That allegedly, I mean, we don't know what it said, but something along the lines of, we have it all, we have everything, meaning the evidence.
Did you see the video of Stephen Baldwin? I mean, it might be an AI. It was I sent you guys that. Did you ever play it? That was weird.
I didn't see it. Maybe I did, but I don't know what
What
you're
is it? I'd love to know, because I know those actors. It's like, I don't call it Hollywood anymore. I call it Holly Weird.
It was something like they have everything. I mean, it was just like a short, and it was like they have everything. Basically, was the theme of it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, Amanda, if you want to ask a question or.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was kind of going in a different direction. Because I think Tyler, you had spoke on just the Orion rule, the draconian rule. What is it that you're kind of seeing, I guess, in terms of the current events? Like, what is going on with the Draco system? Like, where are things? I mean, I think one of the a collective consensus we've been getting on my channel is that there's like a mass exodus happening on the planet. What do you guys see is like really happening with that? Like, what's your lens on the Draco overlordship here on this Earth?
I really do believe that it's not as black and white as we think. I think whenever people say they're negotiating a surrender, there's politics involved, and such a intergalactic politics, to cross-planetary politics. So it's not just a matter of like saying goodbye. Even if these people want to leave, allegedly, if they want to leave this system and go past the quarantine bubble, right? They have to, and the only way to do that is they have to face trial, and they know, and they're not going to do that. That's why they've been trying to find a new way. It's end game for them, and I think either maybe they're given a choice, maybe they're just finally being served. I mean, really, maybe Ryushin, yeah, if you want to chime in on that.
Well, it was the election itself, the second time, well, the first time and the second time, where they were actually going around saying it's a battle for the soul of the nation. The Adreno, soul of the nation. That was their thing to run again. But you see Elon come on and go, vote like your life depends on it.
Right.
Because it does. And he said it like you get chills the way he says it. And it's just like that
Very
was
dire.
right before the election. It had to be another bet, another deal between the balance. That's what this is. It's God and the devil, a balance. And it was, well, if they win, they get to go free. If not, harvest time. And when Trump won, the drones in New Jersey came in, they dressed up all these airplanes with lights all over them to get these drones in. And I've got thousands of videos from that whole excursion with those are not drones. They look like alien craft. And not only that, but I have a drone. It's a big drone. It's stuck in the trees. That's totally alien technology. The Space Force, flew in with decoys to sneak the Galactic Federation in there. And then I have video of them shooting at the ground. What are they shooting at? Why were they in New Jersey? There had to have been a last deep underground military base there. Had to be.
Well, that's where Trump's golf course was. And
yeah, right under his feet.
And he specifically, there was a lot of comms whenever he was talking about he wouldn't be spending the weekend in, what was the name of that town? His golf. What is it?
Bedminster?
Yeah, Bedminster. Yeah, there was a lot of comms whenever he said it in a very peculiar way about how, I'm canceling my plans. I won't be spending the weekend in Bedminster. I think they were planning another attack, and
it was the good aliens that went in there to clean up, kick out the Draco or the Orion group, whoever. And then for weeks, the good aliens sat outside of every major city in a show of protection. They just sat there.
Right.
For weeks.
Well, and you know what's interesting? We interviewed Dan Cooper, who has alleged ties with the Earth Alliance, and he has real military credentials. We've had him on 4 times. It's all, take it all with a grain of salt. But he said that a lot of these craft were here to witness the transition of power, because this is a big deal. Pete, they were coming from all over the place, almost like watching the show. And there was something occurring in that moment that was beyond any of us. And it wasn't what any of the narratives we got on TV. There was some sort of major transition where literally the power that was being handed over to a new administration, to a new, the Trump administration and whoever else. I don't think it's just the Trump administration. I think ultimately what's happening is the military is really involved. And I think Trump and Elon, what their role is to do is, for one, help the people feel good about what's actually happening, and 2, stay out of the way of the military instead of standing in their way every step of the way like the previous administration. So
yeah, Tower, I wanted to ask you, what do you think this has to do with the programs and stuff? From what we know of, the secret space program, the MyLabs, the people who are being targeted. What do you think this administration will bring with that? Do you think it'll bring a lot of truth from that, or do you think we'll start to see a lot more? Or what do you think that ties into this in a way?
Yeah, I think there's a very strategic thing happening with the Stephen Greer disclosures right now. I've actually been paying attention to it just because I go where I'm guided, and there's something in that we should all be paying attention to. In particular, his podcast. I've listened to the episodes that are out, and I don't agree with his perpetual stance that there are no negative ETs. That's something that he has been kind of probably brainwashed into believing, or paid to say. But what's coming with these disclosures is ultimately serving the collective as far as disclosure goes. The people who've been paying attention for a while, it's kind of like old news, right? But I do think there's something there. They're literally talking about things like human trafficking, genetic hybrid programs, interdimensional beings, living and non-living biologics, they call them. They can't say bodies or beings, because they have to create all these fancy words. But we're getting more disclosure in that arena than I thought we were going to get. And it's going to happen over a few months period of time, the way Greer explained it. It's going to lead us a step closer to the programs, but I don't know that we'll ever really get true disclosure of like a 20 and back type of program, because I mean, you're talking about disclosing technologies now that they're not ready to let go of, and some of them quite literally are a matter of national security. Like if we were to, a UFO isn't an advanced propulsion craft like we imagine. It's a time machine. It literally bends space and time as it travels. They use dimensional shift technology. That's why they disappear. They're traveling in other dimensions. They're warping time. And the implications, if you don't know what you're doing, can be detrimental. And you can literally affect the timeline, create time deviations that need to be corrected. So we can't just like haphazardly be using that type of technology. They can't hand it over to us. So there are real reasons to keep some of it secret. And it has to remain in the right hands until like we are at a point where we're like living in harmony with the planet and back to our roots, and we know that the dark force is gone. At that point, we can introduce these technologies safely. And plus, we don't even have the infrastructure for it anyway. So, that has to happen too. So it's going to happen. And I think that some exciting things are on the horizon, but there's an order of operations that has to occur. And for the people that have been waiting forever, it's going to seem like it's long and drawn out, but I think it's the way it has to happen. And as far as the programs go, I would be shocked if we got any real disclosure on that in the near future at all. I think there's a lot of other things that people have to understand first.
Yeah, the Greer stuff amazes me because he comes out with a lot of information. I feel like he's an asset. You know what I mean? Because I feel like he's being used as an asset, but I don't know what the purpose is. Like, for example, like he'll say something real good, then he'll say something like the U.S. military is taking midgets and dressing them up as aliens and having them abduct people. I'm like, what? But then he'll come up with like real good information too, and you're like, where's this guy going? And the only thing I can think is he's an asset and he's being used to put out certain information, and you have to take what's good. And I don't know, what do you think?
He's being used, bottom line, and whatever. Ultimately, I think it's the bigger picture. It's for a benevolent reason.
Yeah.
But it's gatekept information. They're controlling the narrative. They're trying to do their best. They're walking the fine line of revealing what they can and concealing what they have to, because they don't want to tell on themselves, because they're literally like, they're not going to blackmail themselves. If they told us the truth, they would have to admit that that there's treason involved and this is a national scandal and people should be locked up. And so all these organizations, these aerospace industries and the military, they don't want their hands on it. So whenever they're questioned, that's why they have to say, no, we don't know anything about it. As soon as they admit it, they're admitting they're guilty, right? This is, there's politics involved, and people are, deals are being made. And one thing Greer did say that I found very interesting is that a lot of these people that work for these corporations, they don't even understand that they're working for and participating in an illegal operation until they get higher up in the ranks. And by the time they realize what's going on and they want out, they've already been bought and had. They can't get out. So they're trapped. And that's what happens. They hold this over their heads. They threaten their family and their fortune. And if they talk, they pull the rug out from underneath of them. And, and what they do, and I know this for a fact from interviewing so many people, is the guys that get up in those positions, they literally bring women. They'll send in the honeypot trap, the handler, whatever she looks like, right? And she'll have a kid. She'll create a family with that person, and he'll fall in love, and he'll think he has it made. He gets the diamond credit card that you can swipe it everywhere in the world. You never have to make a payment. And then as soon as that guy starts breaking programming, and if he becomes a threat, then they just pull all that out from under him. They give him everything he needs to have an amazing life, and they can take it away just as easily. So there's a lot more going on with that as far as the disclosures go. The Whistleblower Protection Act is kind of amazing in that way, because that's why we're even getting the disclosures that we're getting. But I still think we're only getting the government approved whistleblowers. I still think the real guys, they're still bought and paid for.
Yeah, I was going to say that I was happy about the Whistleblower Act. Like they were trying to shut that down for a long time, It seemed
Right.
like, but
Right.
that, yeah.
Rob, you know what's interesting is that Stephen Greer actually was a trauma medical doctor at Mission Hospital in Asheville in the ER.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Asheville, North Carolina. Interesting.
Yep. Yep. Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot, you have been very quiet. Do you have any thoughts on any of this? Unmute yourself.
You're muted.
Oh, I just been sitting there taking notes. When you ask me a question, I'll bring in my notes real quick. I mean, yeah, I mean, all this stuff is right on topic, and I think some of us studied a lot of this stuff. All this is pretty. I think most of it's well known. I was going to say the two terms they had to pause. You got to make a bigger net. So the two terms that Trump they had to spread that out. Get a bigger net. So I kind of agree with that. And on the Draco red cape, a lot of times they talk, not literally. And for some reason, I was thinking TikTok. Now that it's gone, you got Red Note. Red Note is basically Draco red cape. I don't know. I don't know. It's in my thoughts for some reason. And
TikTok's back.
TikTok's back. Tina's
Did they take TikTok then? Is it gone?
It's back.
They did it's back and is most likely a pause for 3 months.
It's a pause for 3 months.
Possibly.
Okay. And also,
I just say this real quick. I didn't mean to, I mean, all those people that are creators that but my heart goes out to them. Whoever was making money off of TikTok, I really feel bad for you right now. Like you have to go through that for 3 months. Like you shouldn't take that shit away. I don't know I don't even have a theory as to what's going on.
Well,
I've heard people say that a lot of good information was coming from TikTok, and that scared the powers that be.
Well, so if you don't mind, really quick, I do believe that a lot of good information was coming from TikTok. Also, they banned us, obviously. So they were like, we couldn't cover any of the real truth, but they'll, hashtag flat earth can trend in the algorithm all day long, and that never gets censored. So what does that tell you? But TikTok this has been my theory for a long time. And Ian Carroll, if anybody knows who that is, he's an amazing influential truther who just got like a lot of recognition because of a conversation on X that he had with Elon Musk. But he did a dig a while back and completely verified what I was feeling, that TikTok was never a Chinese company to begin with. And his dig proved that all their data centers are literally in Texas, and they oversee the algorithms there as well in Texas. And they're operating out of a shell company under the name Oracle. And all of everything tied to TikTok is in the United States. And the reason he started doing that dig was because he realized that he could call out the CCP all day long and never get censored. As soon as he called out anything related to the Epstein case and anything corruption in the United States government, that's when they canceled him. He's like, now why would a Chinese platform, a Chinese organization, cancel me for exposing the corruption in the United States? And he was doing digs on the CCP too, and all of those videos were allowed. So that's what sent him down his rabbit hole. And maybe my theory is with this TikTok shutdown, I think the transition of power is occurring there too. It was literally ran by the CIA out of Texas. They shut it down. They literally changed the passwords. They denied access to that entire Oracle shell company that was running the show. And they're giving access to whoever it is now that's going to take control of it. And I think it's moving into new hands. And I think maybe that was the real reason for the shutdown. That's my theory.
Do you think we'll see something similar with YouTube? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I hope.
I was just going to say the same thing. Yeah, really. Because sorry, Andy.
It's okay. I just agree with the TikTok because, I don't think it's shut down anymore because, me and my daughters are all on TikTok, and it just shut down for about 24 hours. And so when you would log on, it would just say, app is out of use, currently shut down, try back again later. And so we got back on this morning, and when you get back on, it said, thanks to Donald Trump, everything is up and running again. So I think it's good to go, but I think you're absolutely right with TikTok. There's something about that. The whole China thing, I think that you're saying it's based out of Texas, so that's really interesting. But I have noticed that a lot of these agendas that they want the youth to, the narratives that they want to push for the youth, I really think that the whole transgender confusion came out of TikTok. I think it was like birthed and promoted through this platform, so there's that. And, where do you see this really happening in the United States? Where do you see this really happening in the more liberal blue states?
That's a,
It's
I was gonna say, you don't ever see too many people from China on TikTok. That's a good point. Everyone you see is from the United States, like everyone. So it's a good point. And you know what? The CIA has their hands in everything, right? I mean, they
It's
really
a
do.
textbook move. I mean, this is what they do, blame it on someone else, this big bad, right? Like just like with the ISIS and all of that with 9/11, it's like they blame it on something that the American people are gonna hate, and have this like, this gut like wrenching feeling about. And then we see it's just something to distract and potentially utilize to their advantage, right? Textbook.
Really good point, Noko. It's a really good point.
Yeah, yeah. And I think also the narratives that you see being pushed with the like protesters, like the pro jihad protesters and things like this, and like you see like the wolf and the sheep coming together to basically fight together. I think these narratives are also brainwashed via TikTok as well. So I kind of feel like it's been a dangerous, destructive platform, to be honest with you. And they really are censorshipping so biasedly. Like you said, the flat earther thing gets through, but other things don't that are actually really important. So it's heavily monitored, and I really hope that they can change that, like make it censorship free and like they're doing on X, but maybe more appropriate towards the youth. I don't know how they would, do that, because it's like, are some of the things that you see on X actually harmful? Would I want my daughter actually exposed to all of the kinds of videos that are on X? Probably not. Some of that stuff is actually pretty horrific.
I
Um,
mean, that's what makes no sense about YouTube. I mean, I don't mean to bring it up, but Tyler can probably agree to this. Like the things that I got suspended for are so insane; they don't even make any sense. Like, and then I tried to get at the team YouTube on Twitter, and I said, "Hey, I proved that this wasn't what I was suspended for. Can you guys please reverse it?" And they came back with, "Oh, you're still going to remain suspended, but this time it's going to be for dangerous content." And I said, "But that deviates from what you originally said I was suspended for. So you're just making things up as you go." And I have proof of all this. So I'm like, this is insane. I was like, you'll let someone, like rappers and comedians can come on and talk about anything they want and swear and say the F word. And this person can show bullshit videos that are nude and stuff like that. But like, I'm talking about something like that involves truth, and you're going to suspend my channel. And Tyler lost his whole channel, and I'm on the verge of losing my whole channel. Like, there's no justification for their actions, and it's crazy. It's insane. It's actually insane. You know what I mean? I don't know. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on it. It's just, it's bullshit. Like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm still pissed about it.
Well,
Like,
you can't reason with the devil. I mean, we're talking about parasite infested people who are literally mind control. I mean, you don't know what's being pumped in the air at the YouTube headquarters. And I mean that. Like, there's probably a frequency emitting that is mind controlling the entire staff. And it's probably, pumping trigger words into their head like Donald Trump. And, that's what gives them that knee-jerk reaction and the Trump derangement syndrome and all that stuff. It's all programmed. It's not organic. These people are being mind controlled. So whenever they're censoring you, it's not them. Like there's so many entities working through people, especially if they got the whatever. I mean, there's a much deeper layer of what's actually influencing all these people's decisions and the motives behind everything they do.
They were spraying the shit out of the chemtrails today here on the beach. I mean, they were just XX all over. It was awful. I hope that goes away. I mean, for a while it seemed to go away. It was gone. Now,
I was hopeful. Kennedy said that's what he was going for. He said he was going for the water, the fluoride. He was going after the poisons in our food. He said he was going after the chemtrails, and he said he was going after, warp speed. You know what I mean? And I was kind of hopeful for that, for all that. I don't know, like that kind of.
Well, it hasn't happened yet, so hopefully it'll stop.
Yeah.
It'll happen gradually. I mean, they're gonna, like I said, there is gonna be pushback. There's gonna be moves and counter moves. Things change in the fog of war. That's why nobody can really predict exactly what's gonna happen, because I think it's literally up to our free will at a certain, when it comes down to it, literally our collective consciousness can create and help manifest that timeline. Go ahead, Rio.
So I'm just gonna say it because I know they're gonna use it for fake alien invasion. I'm sure you guys have heard about that. So I think it's gonna happen, and I think they're gonna use it to capture the deep state.
That's an interesting theory.
I think it's gonna happen, and they're gonna kill it. 10 days of darkness.
Yeah.
And that's how they grab. That's what I see. But, and I really hate saying it because it's like, it's, it's if it's true, I'm kind of not, I'm not helping I'm helping the deep state, but whatever. I just wanted to maybe, right? Maybe.
Well, what do you guys think we're looking at in terms of the cleanup process of Earth? Because, we've mentioned so many things tonight, from the bioweapons to the planetary weapons to the diversity of the different Draco legions that are on the planet. Because it sounds like, there's some white Dracos, it sounds like there's some red-caped Dracos. I mean, clearly there's maybe different draconian empires and different Draco types embedded in each government in each country. And are we really looking at like a Draco on Draco just invasion and warfare that's playing out? So, how do we in the technologies that the Dracos have to shape shift and soul possess as well? So it's like they're not exactly transparent, and so if a Draco can just pop into somebody's body, take over, make some things happen, and then pop out, and that person has no idea what even happened. Like, how do we know that we're actually corralling the correct deep state? I mean, is this more about going more subterranean and just like getting the tunnels completely taken out and the draconian deep underground military bases? Because it also seems that the Draco hives are also at the head of the dark military factions as well. And I think there's more opposing forces, like because it's in the 3D and we can never kind of see the antagonistic enemy that's behind it, because it's like everything's so triangulated. So, there's always like another party involved, and how do we know, who or where these players are essentially? And so what do you think Trump and Elon are ultimately up against, and how do you think, and here's another thing to think about, all of the destruction with the needlecraft, like clearly there's been a lot of mass exodus because of this, a lot of death, a lot of people have been destroyed, their health has just been completely destroyed. So they say like it takes, 6 to 7 generations to weed this stuff out of it. I mean, everybody'd have to stop every bad negative thing that's being done, and then we have to wait many, many generations to actually fully recover from this damage. And so, I mean, obviously Trump and Elon are kind of right now, it does seem and feel like they're a guiding force that's going to continue to maybe reveal the next steps in terms of how this gets done. But then again, like we're also saying, we have to be careful because we don't know entirely who they're making deals with, because money seems to fancy the reptilian types, or at least the shape-shifting souls anyways. And how do we know Trump is entirely safeguarded from a white Draco just walking into his body once he has a power position?
So, I mean, you said a lot there, and but I think that we're caught in the middle of a war between numerous factions, and these people, you have to understand, they're at war with themselves. If you read these books and listen to these Illuminati guys, um, they're all in it for themselves, right? There's infighting within these secret societies. and they always stab each other in the back. It's a battle. It's a power struggle within the organization, and then you have competing factions and all of these different private companies that are involved, and they have their hand in the game. And it's like the name of the game, really, they're all after the technology, right? There's technologies that allow people to do amazing things, including time travel. And it's like the entire temporal war is like time travel cat and mouse. I mean, there are things happening between so many different groups with technologies, like I said, that aren't supposed to exist. And we're caught in the middle of that. So when we see things happening on the surface on a 3D level, I think sometimes they have to scramble to give us a narrative, because even like the lower level media, they don't know what's going on. They're just given talking points, right? And it depends on who's bought and paid for at that time and who's giving the 4 a.m. talking points. So I think that like Trump and Elon, they're doing their best. And I think there is some divine protection that is allowed, that is here now, because there have been, I think this has been going on for a little longer than we understand, as far as this cleanup process and the subterranean and the underground. And obviously they can, pop back up in a pocket reality or some time bubble in the middle of a jungle. Who knows? And like we can, like, we're fighting some new ones. But ultimately, I think that there is major protection around what is happening. And like we said, like Ryushin said earlier, there's time travel tech, looking glass tech involved. It's already been played out. They already know what's going to happen. Like if anybody knows anything about Kruger, the German organization that apparently exists in another universe, that's what the technology that how they would fight their wars. They would literally they would play out the same battle over and over and over until they won, and then they would go and execute it. Maybe that's happening here. Maybe they've done this over and over and over until they figured out exactly the way it had to happen for the prominent timeline to prevail. I mean, I don't think it's really that black and white. I think everybody's just doing their best, and there are so many moving parts and so many warring factions and so many people scrambling to save face, and it's just going to be a shit show, honestly.
Yeah. I really feel like if we actually looked at the Aquilan factions, that it would give a lot more insight into the military, and then also how the Draco operates and utilizes the Aquilan nations and factions as well for their deep military and technology. I think that's like the hidden player in a lot of it.
Indy,
Well,
I just want
yeah.
to highlight our sacred brother Chad, that was in Kauai with us. He has a great comment here. He's just saying the infighting right now is at an all-time high. Cabal versus Cabal, Draco versus Draco. It's imploding from all directions. I just got like a
Machine,
crazy mad visual off that.
I mean, the machine is literally consuming itself. Like you just kind of stay out of the way while the enemy destroys themselves. That's kind of what I think is happening, you know?
Yeah, I think you're right. That's one thing I've been getting is that in some way it's actually okay to like stay vigilant, but also if you need to turn away from it and just focus on building the new and focus on, again, your spiritual practices and, the things you need to do to actually stabilize your world, your reality, what you're existing and what you're connecting to. And again, connect with spiritual community because I think we do have an opportunity to be building the new earth here simultaneously to the old crumbling systems, and that those things will be protected and that those things will be safeguarded as we kind of bring the new earth realities on the earth. But, but there's always that like pressing thing going on around you where you're like, is this safe, entirely? Like you do start looking at like the future timelines of things and how you look at history, like you said, and how things repeat and like how tribal raids and genocide and Holocaust occurs. So, when you think about safeguarding new communities or new spiritual off-grid communities that could, create a safeguard essentially for starseeds and indigos and people who are 12-dimensional blueprint holders, because we essentially can't really survive in these war zones. I mean, this just tears our light body apart. It's just not good for our souls. It's not good for our consciousness. It's like we're all really craving the organic, spiritual existence. Um, so yeah, it really just kind of fractures and tears us and fragments us all somewhat, doesn't it? With having to keep one foot in and one foot out all the time and have that hypervigilance, and it does almost keep us in like a state of fight or flight on some level, knowing that there's these extreme predator forces on the planet.
Right.
But yeah,
I mean, I think that's kind of I think we knew that coming into this. I mean, in coming into this incarnation, I think we knew on some level it was going to be like this. But we're at a point now where we're starting to remember the way it used to be, and we're like, no, enough is enough, because it does. Like everything, just living anywhere on the planet right now is damaging to your auric field, damaging to your energy body. All those frequencies, like that, you're not meant for that. But honestly, we're resilient because it's amazing that we're even still alive. I mean, we're poisoned and attacked on all fronts the moment you step out your door. And somehow we're still able to not survive, but even thrive if we want to. We adapt and overcome in ways that we can't even imagine. And it probably baffles some of these other groups that can't even set foot on our planet because it's so dense. So we got to give ourselves a lot of credit. I think that, um, it's going to be tough for us, but I think we signed up for it.
yeah, well said. Well, thank you guys all for coming to talk with me with this roundtable. It's really a different energy, isn't it, ladies? Like we have a lot of divine feminine roundtables, and so to have kind of the men step in and give us their perspective. You guys are definitely much more like technical in like the details of what's going on. Wouldn't you say we're a little bit more like, I guess, connected to the bringing in the higher spiritual element in some way. Not that the guys aren't, but I find they're just more detailed with the technicalities of what the dark ones are doing. And I think that's probably goes to the nature of needing to protect, needing to defend, needing to, hold down the foundation and the home front type of thing. They say like in times of war and when things are really, amplifying on the planet, that we do naturally go back into like our original roles, and what we kind of hold. And so, maybe that's what's happening here a little bit. It's kind of an interesting dynamic, but it's really good insight, and it's nice to see it. It's fun to see it. And yeah, you guys have so much intel that I think you guys could just take us on like a whole journey for hours, just really getting the ins and outs of all of these things you guys have decoded. Um, Maybe just lastly here, if you can just maybe give everybody a parting message, something that in terms of what you're seeing with the spiritual evolution, with what this means, and maybe tie it into like a hopeful parting message for everyone.
And I just want to say how refreshing this is to my soul to return to that space, and where, the men can feel like they can do their divine masculine jobs and the women can be supported by that to do their, divine feminine jobs. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. That's where I'm coming from. I think we need more of this. And I think we all have those missing pieces to the puzzle. And the more that we bring that together, we'll find a lot more clarity and community. So,
Yeah. Thank you. Missy was nodding her head too. We're like, yeah.
I just want to share this. I see the world as this.
You brought that up yesterday, the doll within the doll within the doll.
She brought the props. All right, Missy, we see you.
I feel like I've been talking a lot, so you guys go.
I was just going to say, I want to thank everybody for having us here, me here. And, it's always good to do shows with Tyler and Ryushin and Kentucky Bigfoot. Speaking for the guys, and I know Tyler's been, censored heavily on YouTube, and so has Ryushin. So it's always good to, thank you for all of us, and I've been censored recently. So it's good to, that someone's like willing to put us on a platform and I mean, we were all on YouTube anyway, right? We're all still on YouTube, but it's just like we're still heavily censored. So it's nice to, and it's all nice to be around all like-minded people. This was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I don't really have too much to say. Just thank you. I enjoyed it.
Don't you think that's going to shift with X, because now the truth is going to be what sells as the pendulum swings the other way. That's kind of what I think.
Yeah, it's just how much damage are they going to do until that point? I hope that's what happens. I really hope that's what happens, but I don't know. I'm hopeful.
Well, I loved having you guys on. I'd love to have more roundtables in the future. I think especially when we have pressing topics and subjects and things that are occurring to like dial it in and get some outside perspective. So I really appreciate it. And thank you guys so much for coming on tonight. I think we had a lot of really good comments as well, a lot of people coming in. And I'm still standing on YouTube, so I'll just like, keep my little hand extended to you guys, like,
Right.
keep coming back, because like Missy just said, it might open back up, some things might start shifting on YouTube and
Yeah.
maybe start building more of your platform on X as well, because then you can kind of speak
So-
to.
Yeah, that's a great point. So actually, we started navigating. Well, first of all, we're on our 5th YouTube channel, and that's only because my co-host Aaron had to use his girlfriend's dad's information that he let us use to even create a new channel. So it's like, it's under somebody else's identity. There's workarounds, but you can do it, or VPNs. But we tried every way until in this 5th channel, we're 2 strikes, but whatever. It's still, people love YouTube, and it's still a good way to reach people. But I realized after doing this for so many years, I was like, man, we're kind of just like in this echo chamber. I really was feeling it energetically. I was like, we've created this beautiful community, but it's time to like branch out. So I went over and started putting a lot of more energy on X, and we started doing spaces over there, and it's amazing. We're just reaching this an entire new audience of people who had no clue who Journey to Truth is, and it's been energetically, it's like the dam broke, and now like things are flowing for us again as soon as I made that decision. And then I started putting a lot more energy into Instagram too. And miraculously, with the shutdown of TikTok, a bunch of people flooded to Instagram, and one of our reels went viral, which was Dan Cooper talking about the deep state negotiating their surrender. And I don't think it's a coincidence that it went viral, but it literally went viral, and we've gotten thousands. I mean, literally like 4,000 subscribe or followers like overnight. We just started blowing up, and it's still going up. And I think in the content, the reel that actually is blowing up is amazing. It's literally talking about some really next level truths that a lot of people that you wouldn't think they're ready for, but people are craving the truth. Like you said, the truth sells now. People are going to be looking for us, and they're going to be looking for our content. So I think it would behoove us to move into these other platforms. Elon's not wrong when he says X is the Times Square of the world. I mean, that is literally where all the moving and shaking is happening right now. That's where the whistleblowers are coming forward in the spaces. People are going live over there. You can do your podcast over there, and you're going to reach a lot of people. You have to pay, unfortunately, for the premium, subscription to even get a blue check mark to even be seen or heard over there, which I don't agree with. But when it comes down to it, I think it's a necessary move if for all of us content creators, start spending more time, go where the people are. And if anybody wants to follow us, they can find us journeytotruth.online. I think you might have put that link in the description. It has everything that we do. And I do want to let everybody know that we host a conference every year in Grafton, Illinois. It'll be May 12th through the 15th. We take all of our favorite people that we've interviewed, and we invite them to come speak on stage. It's a 4-day event, and it's a lot of fun. May 12th through the 15th, Grafton, Illinois, journeytotruth.online. Grab a ticket, come hang out with us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And so everyone watching, you guys heard it. You can find everybody's links down in the description, the Journey to Truth website, and it will link you to all of his channels and all of his events. And I think I have Ryushin contact information down in the description, Rob as well, and also Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot. Everybody's down in the description. I just recommend you to go and subscribe to everybody's channel that you've seen here tonight. We love them all so much. We support them. And yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. And I think that pretty much concludes the show
Thank
tonight.
you so much, Indy. I appreciate it. Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye,
Thank you.
Ryushin.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
See everyone.
Guys, thank y'all.
Okay, we're good. We did it.